Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I am a lifetime Florida State Seminole fan who does not like Miami.
And I am Chris, and I am an anxious Gator fan who does not like Miami either, except a certain time of year.
And we are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. Today we're going to dive into the Florida State Seminoles' victory over Syracuse. We'll talk about Miami's win over Pittsburgh and whip around the rest of the Sunshine State to see how everyone else fared. UF was on a bye this week. Chris, I think you said you had nothing to add there. We'll kind of hold off on some thoughts for the Georgia prediction, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So in that case, we're just going to go ahead and press right on to Florida State's home victory over the Syracuse Orange. And I think you used the adjective relaxed a while back. That definitely really describes how I feel right now. This is the first comfortable win Florida State's had all season, and probably the only one they will have. So good for the Noles. They take a 35-3 lead into the third quarter, and it was pretty much over even before that. Cam Akers goes wild. A lot of positives taken from this game. Some few things to work on. But the Noles can feel finally comfortable knowing that they can comfortably beat an opponent and none of this mess about messing around with somebody who's slightly good in the fourth quarter. So was that your initial impression of how this game went as well?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably their most complete game of the year, for sure. And relaxed is a good word because you know that in the past they jumped up early and let people back in, but going into the fourth, you can really feel like, okay, there's no way they're going to score enough points to really scare you. They scored 14, but still, Florida State was in control this whole game. And it was a really good confidence builder for them, for sure.
Perfectly said. So moving on to the positives where I always start, Florida State very much controlled this game from the very beginning. 4 sacks in the first half of Syracuse. They scored pretty much at will. You see a little bit of fun formations. You get the wild cam, which wasn't out of a desperation call anymore. This was hey, this is a drive where we're up comfortably, and you're going to take 4 to 5 snaps under shotgun. So Cam Akers, not only does he get 4 rushing touchdowns, he adds about 20 passing yards in this game. One of them to his own backup running back, Laburn. So yeah. That was kind of fun to see. You did have this weird, interesting, busted / trick play where Cam Akers got a pass from Hornibrook and then throws it back, and then he throws it to Marion Terry. That's definitely not the way it was drawn up, but it went for like 60 yards. So good for us. Syracuse they flat out struggled. They did have good special teams. I got to give them that credit. But there wasn't a whole lot to say positive for the Orange, and this is kind of sad seeing a team that was second best in the conference last season, and right now is competing for the worst team with Georgia Tech in the conference. It's been a pretty big slide, and they have not won a conference game as of yet. So it's kind of a good win over an inferior opponent, so you feel good about it, but still a lot of good positives to take away from the game. This was also a game that had some pretty good flashbacks, if you will, and good atmosphere. I'll talk about that in a minute. But as you mentioned, yes, they did give up 2 touchdowns to Syracuse in the fourth quarter, but our second and third stringers were in by then. Hornibrook started, and then Blackman comes in the fourth quarter. So it was kind of giving your other guys experiences, avoiding targeting calls in the light part of the game. Getting some other guys some touches. Again, we spread the ball around. 9 different guys catch a pass, including some freshmen. So that was all good to see. Tamarian Terry does not find the end zone in this game, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But he does have that one big play. But positives from your side, Chris. What else do you think the Noles did right?
I mean, really, it starts with Akers. Was that 4 touchdowns, which is, I think, ties a Florida State record in a game. And then now you had the whole you described. He went wild because he was in the wild cam formation. And it's another thing that teams have to focus on now is him in that lineup there. I like that they didn't miss a field goal this time. right? If you're going to nitpick, that was good. But yeah, no, you said it. It really, Hornibrook did a really good job. I was surprised that he got the start over Blackman because earlier in the week, Taggart even said Blackman's our guy. But he came in. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but no interceptions. He managed the game. He didn't try to do too much. He knew he had a guy like Akers there, and let him do his thing. So that's got to be a good thing as far as finding some kind of consistency at quarterback. So yeah, being in control, seeing a team that, the records going into it were the same, but clearly Florida State was the better team, and seeing that they can actually beat someone who is lesser than them, and it's not close, and you really just dominate from the beginning to the end. That's definitely a good thing for Florida State, and it has to do nothing but give them confidence and calm the fans down a little bit, cool Taggart's seat just a little bit going forward.
Yes. So it really started to show how much a different level, just as you said, the talent level is kind of presenting itself at both schools right now. And, looking back on this game, to me, it kind of feels like the devil is beating his wife. Are you familiar with this phrase?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Okay.
It sounds like someone that.
It must be. It's surprisingly like a Southern phrase. I think Alabama is where this originates. The devil beating his wife is a phrase that you use, and Floridians will know this all too well. When you look outside, you know how it's perfectly sunny, and it's just pouring rain.
Yeah.
That's what it means. The devil is beating his wife. I couldn't tell you the origin. Who knows where it even came from. But that's what this game felt like to me. I was like, oh, it's raining on Florida State season, but here's a ray of sunshine. Okay. The sun comes out, but it's almost like tainted because it's a really bad opponent. And you're right, it's a small glimpse of let's cool the seat a little bit, let's give the fans something to brag about. Only about 50,000 people showed up, by the way. It's pretty bad. And you look and see, there's a glimmer of hope, but you've also got to get right back on track and say, okay, we've got a bowl game to make, and we're 4-4. So reality sets back in. But yes, you're correct. It is a good win. Just a couple of things that Florida State can work on going forward. You mentioned they didn't miss a field goal, but they did miss an extra point, which was blocked. Another one was actually blocked, but somehow still went through the uprights. But neither were kicked by Aguayo. He did not warm up. He did not show up. We had our backup kicker in, so I don't know what that means. We also didn't have really an opportunity for a field goal, so that need never presented itself. Curious to see where that goes. Tamari Terry doesn't find the end zone, but I think something else I'm just noticing is maybe a little bit more energy on his part would be nice. You can bust those big plays, but earlier in the season, he was a guy that would catch 4 to 7 passes, and now he's kind of slipped back into the 2 to 4 range. So I'd like some more touches, and that may be part of the positive scheme of the offense where you're spreading the ball around so much. Hard to tell, but now that you have Helton out for the season, you need guys like him and DJ Matthews to really step up and get more touches. So I'd like to see some of that. The shuffle of quarterbacks has me a little worried. Which week, who starts, when? Now our running backs throwing passes. What's the old adage? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one.
Right. I was just about to say that.
It's a little concerning because we're in the last home stretch here. We got 4 games left. You got to win. Let's assume you beat Alabama State. That's win number 5. You got to beat either Miami or Boston College to get a bowl game. And I think you're probably going to be favoring both of those, but they're not gimmies. Offensive line still has a lot of struggles, and it got masked because Syracuse couldn't get a lot of pressure yesterday. But I'm still very concerned about that. This game to me is kind of an outlier, just like the Clemson game, where I'm like, okay, how are we really against teams of equal talent? As I'll talk about against the Miami squad, you're going to be really tested. So I'm concerned. Other than that, not a whole lot. I think that we managed the game really well. I see some things Hornibrook brings to the table as well as Blackman. But, just some small things to clean up. No turnovers on either side. Penalties pretty clean. Overall good. I would like to see a little little fewer penalties and maybe a little bit more aggressiveness on defense to try and get a turnover or two because that swings momentum. But otherwise, I was pretty satisfied.
Yeah, the one thing that does concern me about Akers, and I was thinking, man, if a team that is better than Syracuse decides we are going to shut him down and just take him out of the game, load the box, whatever, spy, can Hornibrook and the receivers compensate for that? Can they, or someone else? And that's something that Florida State has to worry about. You know, if I'm not wishing this on him, but if he does get injured or has to go out for a spell, and it's just Hornibrook and the receivers, is that going to be enough against a better opponent? So that kind of concerns me a little bit. It's great that he's doing that, and it's great that he's putting up numbers, but you get a team that has better talent than Syracuse does, and some of the earlier opponents, and they just decide, they scheme up a game plan to take away Akers. What is Florida State going to do after that? So that kind of worries me a little bit for them.
It's a great observation. It's hard for me to tell, are they really trying to get his draft stock up, or do we really need him? Yeah. Now, like Louisiana Monroe, we needed him. It's sad to think that our second game of the season, without him, we would have lost. Now, Syracuse, it's hard to say. I think he would have been just fine without him, apparently. But, let him get his career day. That's fine. He's moving up the ranks, by the way, on like all-time Florida State rushers. Mm-hmm. Curious to see how high he gets. But you're absolutely right. If you can shut him down, it could be for a long day. Now, again, you can spread the ball around pretty well, but Laburn still only has 2 touchdowns on the year, maybe a couple 100 yards. And this was the first sighting of a third-string running back the entire year. He gets his first touch of the season. You really hope that you would have some more guys involved and not having to wait till next year when the recruits come in. But very good. But, career day for him with 4 TDs. And he got a 2-point conversion just to top it off.
If you have college football fantasy and you have him on your team, you're probably won.
Yeah, you're doing fine. Absolutely. Yeah. But I didn't have a whole lot to say. I did want to add a couple of things about the atmosphere because I was able to attend this game.
Okay.
20 years ago, Florida State wins the national championship. So they honor the 99 team before the game started.
Oh, cool.
A little underwhelming. They weren't able to get Bobby to come back. He did do a video conference with the fans, which was very emotional. And, of course, you get the star, Peter Warwick. Okay. You get a few other guys. Winky didn't come. Sebastian Janikowski wasn't there. Travis Minor wasn't there. You had some other key wide receivers. Like I think Ron Dugans was there, but he's already coaching on our staff, so he would have already been there anyway.
Right.
And, a few guys and their families out there. It's kind of neat, but that was kind of cool. I hadn't been to a Florida State home game in 2 years, and they definitely improved the experience. Got to give them that.
Okay.
Added the DJ, which we talked about last year. This happened to be homecoming, so they had the alumni band, which was throwing off the timing of the Marching Chiefs, but that's okay. They have fireworks with the kickoffs. The concession stands were much improved. Little wait time now. That could have been because of poor attendance, unfortunately, but either way is good. They do sell alcohol, but there's very strict rules on it, and I didn't partake. I didn't, no interest in that. But other fans probably would, and that could be a deal breaker. Who knows?
Right.
But overall impressed. It's gotten better. The Champions Club is very nice. Maybe one day when we're winning the lottery, I can afford seats there. But until then, I'll sit on the side of the visitors and just enjoy the views. But yeah, overall, very good experience. I was impressed.
Oh, good. Good to hear. Yeah, I couldn't. It didn't look like it was well attended, but I get it. Like, if I'm a Florida State fan, it was a noon game, right?
3:30.
Yeah, 3:30. Okay, so day game, and we're playing Syracuse, and we're not doing so hot. I can't blame them too much, but I'm glad that the experience is better, and because with all the stuff that's pulling you this way and that way, and all the things that you could go to, and for you to invest some money in a ticket and go sit at that game, they better make it worth your while. So sure. I'm glad they're doing that. Yeah,
that's exactly right. They're competing against a lot, and what's to stop you from sitting at home and watching 4 games at once instead of just one?
Right, exactly. So it's good.
All right. Well, that's all I had to add there. Florida State is victorious, 35-17 at home. Who else is victorious are the Miami Hurricanes, Chris.
Yeah.
On the road against Pittsburgh. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Oh man, this is going to be a theme that we're going to see for the next couple of games we're going to talk about. A team that I thought I knew, but I have no clue anymore. And you'll see when I get to the other teams. But Miami, I don't know. I don't know who this team is. I don't think they know who this team is. They get a road win against Pitt, 16-12, and again another ugly Miami football game. Yeah. But Pitt was uglier, so good for them. Miami goes and they score a couple things. They didn't let Pitt score a touchdown, that is. Held them to 4 field goals, and they weren't doing much themselves on offense. N'Kosi Perry played most of the game, and then Williams comes in and leads them to a drive towards the end there to get a touchdown and go ahead and score. Yep. To I believe Osborne was the receiver. And yeah, Pitt and I wasn't the greatest team, but they've beat the UCF and they looked pretty decent at times, but not today. And I knew Pitt had this potential to just lay an egg.
Right.
I didn't think they were going to do it at home against Miami, who isn't the scariest team. But again, Miami's defense is carrying them. That's their strength, and their offense does not know what they're doing. And sometimes you'll have a guy like Dallas or Jordan break out, and then they'll disappear. Perry will have a good half, and then he'll disappear. Now, this is a weird game where he plays most of the game and struggles, throwing barely over 100 yards and a pick, and Williams comes in and leads him to a touchdown. So I don't know anymore with Miami. I mean, good for them. It's a really good, huge win for them because things were not looking good for them.
Yeah.
For sure. But some things that do stand out, I believe Dallas was injured for a little bit. But Osborne, he's been coming on the last couple of games, especially in this one at the end there. He caught a short pass and he broke a couple tackles and went for the go-ahead touchdown. But a guy like Jordan, one catch for 9 yards. It's like, just kind of, what are you doing? But I think it was the first quarter, the defense forced 3 turnovers and really set the tone for them going forward. So that's really good. Their kicking game is awful again. Punting game is actually pretty good. The Aussie, he's actually having a pretty good season. But yeah, I know I'm going all over the place because that's what this team is. This team is all over the place. So I apologize for that, but they're I don't know. I mean, I'm glad they won. I mean, happy for them. You know, they need that. But wow, this team. I don't know.
It was crazy. I don't fully know who Miami is either, but I have an educated guess.
Okay.
And my guess now is different than what it was 2 weeks ago. I now think that Miami is a great defensive team who's had 3 bad games. And those 3 bad games were UNC, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. And Va-Tech was a little different because their offense turned the ball over an insane amount of times. I used to think they were just kind of a decent defensive team with a really bad offense. But now I think, I'm guessing here, but educated, you can define that however you want, that this is now the 3rd game this year where they have not allowed a touchdown.
Yeah.
That would be, unless it was, who's McElwain coach for?
Central Michigan.
I can't remember if they scored a touchdown. They had 12 points. But Virginia definitely didn't, and neither did Pitt.
Yeah.
And this is definitely Miami's best win of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Pitt, a very good team. You know exactly what Pitt does, and this is funny enough, that's exactly what Miami does. Keep it low scoring.
Yeah.
Force a lot. I mean, what did Miami end up with? Just over 200 yards of offense the entire night? And they win by 4. It's just insane. But then they hold, like you said, Pitt to all of these turnovers, and then, I'm confirming here, Pitt had 322 yards of offense, Miami had 208. So I would love to have a game where I win with 200 yards of offense. That'd be wonderful. But Miami somehow just continues to get up for the games. They're still playing for Manny Diaz, which is good to see. You don't want to see you guys give up.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is a baffling win. Going in, and this is just your ACC Coastal playing out as the way you think it should. Virginia's still the favorite despite being terrible and losing again. You would think, okay, Pitt wins this game, and they're in the driver's seat. Well, they didn't. So Here we are.
Right. I'm scratching my head. Just at Pitt, at Miami, at the ACC, outside of Clemson, like crazy. But I mean, this is, like you said, this is the biggest win for them. They've had plenty of opportunities. You would have thought Virginia would, and I didn't give them much of a chance to win this game, honestly.
Right.
The way that they were playing, and Pitt wasn't like the best team out there, but they were certainly better than Miami, right? But nope, Miami goes in there and wins.
And you can point to questionable calls by Narduzzi again with Pitt's play calling down the stretch. Yeah. But at this point, you've got 2 or 3 games that come down to one possession, and he continues to play it overly safe. And twice it's cost him.
Yeah.
He did go for it against UCF, that Pitt not so special touchdown, and it paid off. But against Penn State, 4th and goal at the 1, and they had some kind of similar situation in this game. Decides to go for the field goal. So those are points that you can get back.
Yep. So I'm gonna upset the UCF fans. Pitt beat UCF. Miami beat Pitt.
No.
Does that mean? I'm just gonna end it there.
And then Florida beat Miami. I thought that's where you were going, actually.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could. I mean, I can go back to last year where Florida beat LSU.
Oh God.
LSU. Yeah. But yeah. But that's where I'll end with them if they suffer enough.
Well, it's a perfect segue because next we're going to talk about the UCF Knights.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, did they put their foot on the gas against Temple? It was there at 28-14. Temple scores a touchdown before half to pull it in 7, and never scored again. UCF I think scored like on 4 straight possessions within like a couple minutes. It felt like. And it was 56-21 in just a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
The biggest positive out of this game is UCF finally got their rushing attack going. Yeah. And man, did they ever. What I would have been hesitant about the rushing attack here is you have the least amount of guys of the season. You knew Greg McCray, was going to be out for this game. You knew Killings wasn't 100%. He only got, I think, 4 or 5 touches, and then he went out with a shoulder injury. So it was Otis Anderson, and that's it. I think they did get Ventavious Tompkins, I think is his name, their other running back involved, and he goes off for a lot. But I mean, they just crushed Temple. I mean, this is a good Temple team. This is Temple that beat Maryland way back when I think they beat someone else pretty good. I just can't remember who it is off the top of my head. So they come in this game 5-2, just like UCF, and they're looking pretty good. And I really thought UCF would kind of struggle like they had in their other road games, and I was just wrong. The third quarter, UCF just took off, and they threw all kinds of wrinkles at them that Temple just wasn't prepared for.
Yeah. I thought this game was going to be a close one. I thought UCF was going to win, but close. And the first half was playing out that way. But, man, 28-0 in the third. They just didn't know what to Temple didn't know what to do after that.
Yeah.
And like you said, Otis Anderson, over 200 yards and a rushing touchdown. 5 touchdowns on the ground. That's definitely the story of the game for the Knights. And yeah, it's one of the. I bet they're just like real happy. Okay, enough of this close game stuff.
Yeah,
let's just beat this team and doing it on the road too. It's impressive and good to see Gabriel also getting back in there, and also Mac. Good to see him getting some touchdowns there, getting touches and a touchdown there. I think he had a passing and maybe a rushing one as well.
Yeah, one of each.
So I'm glad that he's coming back from his injury. He's getting involved in there as well. Just in case Gabriel gets hurt or something, you have a quality guy there, experienced guy there as well. So yeah, even though they are dinged up a little bit, they still have a bunch of options and weapons on offense.
Yes, that excluding Brandon Wimbush, who hasn't seen the field in a month.
Right.
And you still have the option to throw to Gabe Davis on the outside, and he just continues to be a dangerous presence. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, Knights win comfortably 63-21 on the road against a division opponent. they moved to 6-2 on the season. Right. Let's move down to your neck of the woods.
The Owls?
Yeah, talk about FAU a little bit.
They stopped Old Dominion 41-3, and they have done what most people have done against Old Dominion, and that is just beat them. Beat them bad. I don't know what to say, but they're just a better team, and it showed, and ODU is not good. Let's not fool ourselves. They're not good at all. And so the Lane Train gets a huge win, pretty solid attack there, 271 in the air, 159 on the ground, really holding ODU to 3 points, keeping them out of the end zone. That's pretty good too. And even if it's just a team that's not that good, still having a defensive game like that is pretty good as well. Robinson. Pretty decent game. No one really went off on the running game, but together they had 159 yards, which is really good. Spread it around there, and good solid win for the Owls.
Yeah, I'll add Harrison Bryant in the passing game did go off, 8 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's, again, I'm constantly impressed at his numbers this year, and looking good as an NFL talent. And also what stands out to me is I like that they got Tronte, their backup quarterback, involved, this is the perfect game to get some practice for them when you're up 38.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Not much to say. They're a better team, and good for them.
Yeah. Yep. ODU tried to troll time of possession and line of scrimmage, but they just weren't able to do so.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. So, yep. Good win for the Owls.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, I'd like to move over to Tampa, if that's okay, and talk about the South Florida Bulls.
And another team that, just when I thought I knew them, I don't know.
Where did this come from? Yeah. I don't understand. Now, I get that East Carolina is on the bottom rung of the American, but so is South Florida.
Yeah.
And I was laughing. I was like, oh, East Carolina scored a touchdown on the opening kickoff, and this is going to be great. And they could not get it done after that.
Yeah.
Cronk shows back up again. We all know that McLeod's the guy going forward, but he didn't have to do anything. I mean, Cronkrite had 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think they only had, what's the number here? Passing yards, 170 on the day because they had 347 on the ground.
Yeah.
I know you're kind of a guy, I like to have a balanced offense. Yeah, they weren't today because they just didn't need to.
Yeah.
So, they've won 3 out of the last 4 games now. And they're definitely against teams you preseason would think they'd be favored in, but showing how they started, you weren't so sure. So, I'm safe to say you can be cautiously optimistic with the Bulls if you're a fan, because they've definitely got some things going, and you're seeing what they should have looked like to start the year.
Yeah, we actually had a Cronkrite sighting. I don't know, maybe we can do good Cronkrite, bad Cronkrite. And he showed up, and then really, after that opening kickoff, they offensively, ECU didn't do much. The Charlie Strong's defense shut them down till the fourth. They scored some points there, but really, they didn't do much. And you see the strength of Charlie Strong showing up in this game. He has some pieces on offense that sometimes show up, but you see that his team is following the coach and doing a great job on the road, getting a huge win for them and making me scratch my head again.
Yes, indeed. But, they move up, and this is a big game if you're looking to get a bowl. If you're the Bulls, you're 4-4 now. You do have a tough road ahead of you. So this almost amounted to what you would call a must-win to get back on track. So this is huge. Now you got to squeak out 2 out of your last 4, and it's going to be tough to even win one of those.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is what keeps them going, and they figure out some things moving forward. And I think they have. I think they figured out some things. So good for them.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Now we have FIU getting blown out by Middle Tennessee, and again another team. I don't know what's going on. Just when I think I knew this team, this happened. And a couple stats that stick out. They were FIU lost. Well, first they lost 17-50.
Yeah.
They were up 17-14 going into the half and did nothing second. Did nothing the second half. But the stat that jumps out: Middle Tennessee's rushing 471. I did not stutter. 471 yards rushing. You know how many passing yards that Middle Tennessee had?
How many? Tell me.
25.
25?
25 and a touchdown. But they didn't need to.
Holy cow.
O'Hara, 6 for 12, 25 and a touchdown. This was just, it was like Navy and
I was about to say, did they switch to the triple option this 1 week? What happened?
Regular running. Now, one of them, late in the fourth, they gave up a 92-yard run by the backup to Middle Tennessee. But, it was just, this is a head-scratcher. Especially, like, they had some momentum, and even the first half, they're outplaying them. But I don't even know. I mean, I saw the tape. They actually did come out of the locker room, but they didn't act like they came out of the locker room. Weird and tough loss for the Panthers for sure.
Yeah. And, I mean, I just on a whim, I was like, I'll take Middle Tennessee to win. I did not expect them, obviously, to win like this in just dominant fashion. But I must say, we were right to know that once a team in that area of the state gets going, then they just, out of nowhere, just decide, not today.
Yep.
And that's you're right. The second half of this game was just bad. I mean, just could not move the ball, and none of your key players got involved. Yeah, you just very surprising.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So it means the Panthers are now 4-4. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Way too many 4-4 teams in the state. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So that would be
an average state.
Yeah. Well, aside from the Gators and then UCF some days, yes, you're absolutely right. And Florida State's part of the problem, not going to lie. I think that's everybody, right?
I think so, yeah.
That is all of week 9. Okay. Well, there are a lot more positives. I feel obviously a little happier coming off of a win. So let's go ahead and move into week 10. I think the only team on a bye is South Florida, so they've kind of earned some time off. Gators, do they even have a big game? It's hard to tell. SEC, you get weeks off, right? You don't have to play really good teams, right?
Yeah, I think we're done with the tough games. I think that's what. No, we have Florida, Georgia in Jacksonville, which I think they extended this series in Jacksonville for the next few years. Okay. But yeah, this is I think it's the biggest game in the SEC and nationally as well. Although game day's not going there, which I'm kind of surprised. But man, this is huge game for Florida. Both teams were out of bye this past week, and which is important for Florida because we were dinged up with some key players. But now we know that Jabari Zuniga, John Grenard are two top DNs are healthy, and they're going to be playing. And even Kadarius Toney, our wide receiver, looks like he is going to be able to play as well. So we're probably about as healthy as we've been since the beginning of the season, all around. And we are definitely going to need Jabari Zuniga and Grenard because DeAndre Swift is really good. One of, if not the best running backs in the not only the SEC but the nation. And interesting stat though, Trask has almost 1,400 yards passing, just a couple shy. Jake Fromm barely has 1,400 yards passing. He has 9 TDs. Trask has 14. Trask, by the way, has played 3 less games than Fromm.
Yeah, we were talking about those stats this week, and that's just eye-opening to see what Trask has done already.
Right. And I think Fromm, it was last week or week. I think last week he had 35 yards passing in a 21-0 win over Kentucky, and so a lot of things are going for Florida. We are starting to. I mean, we lost LSU, but we looked good, and we see that LSU is a really good team. And we looked sloppy a little bit at South Carolina, but our offense is clicking. And then now we're getting two key players on defense back, and we're going to need them back because I think this game is going to come down to two things. If we win in these two areas, no matter what else happens, I think if we win in these two areas, I think we win, and we win comfortably. On offense, don't turn the ball over. If you limit your turnovers, I think that we'll be fine. And defense, everybody just keep an eye on Swift. Make Jake Fromm beat you. Now, he can. He is very capable of beating you, but make him. If anyone's going to beat us, I want it to be Fromm to beat us. So if we can limit Swift, I don't know if we're going to stop him, but if we can limit him and not turn the ball over, I think we win. And we win comfortably.
Oh.
Thing that does worry me, though, this is what worries me. The last 3 weeks or so, everyone has just been down on Georgia. They haven't looked well. They lost to South Carolina. They lost at home to South Carolina. Didn't play well against Kentucky, although that game was in the rain, and even Mullen said in his press conference, like, I'm not really counting that game because it was the rain. And now they have the bye week where everyone is just praising Florida and saying Georgia is not that great. And Georgia's a good team. Kirby Smart's a good coach. So I don't like that everyone is just piling on Georgia. I hope that we aren't just overlooking them or thinking that we're just going to walk in there and get a victory.
Okay.
And so I would not be surprised if Georgia comes out just ready to punch us in the mouth. Because they're a good team. They're an experienced team. So I'm going back and forth on this game, like who to go. I like the fact that we have Pitts adding into the mix of weapons. Now you have Kadarius Toney on offense. I like where we are with our defense, the rotation of corners and safeties. I like how healthy we are on defense. I have been every day. I've been going back and forth on who do I pick. I'm going to make a pick tonight, and then tomorrow might be completely different. I don't know. But I'm going to go Florida 31, Georgia 30.
1 point victory. Okay.
Both teams have great kickers. And I think we get a late field goal. Maybe not last second, but a late field goal to go up by 1.
Okay.
So, but like again, tomorrow I can be like, nope, Georgia's gonna win. And then Friday we're gonna win. I know kickoff. I'm like, no, we have no chance. So, but as of right now, Florida by 1, 31-30.
Okay. I agree with a lot of what you said, especially with Georgia not looking as great. The inexplicable loss to South Carolina at home. I mean, especially now South Carolina's lost to Florida the way they did, and Tennessee. I can't fathom it. But every good team has 2 bad weeks. Clemson had theirs against UNC. Honestly, Florida's yet to have one, as far as I can tell.
I mean, Kentucky kind of was turning out to be a bad game.
Okay, good point. So I'm going to take Georgia here, and I think that they're going to come out kind of like you said, ready to go, a little fired up. I don't know that you can, if you're Kirby Smart, sell like, hey, you're the underdog and people have us down. What you have to pitch to them is, hey, you didn't play your best game. We haven't looked as great. Kirby Smart secretly had to love that Kentucky game because that's kind of what he really wants to do all the time, but probably can't because it's just boring.
Right.
And you would turn into Navy or one of the other academies. But it works. Why not do it if it's working? Mm-hmm. So as long as he sticks to the running game, and you're right, not have Fromm have to throw a lot. It's just hard to say. Florida has all my respect. We know that, but I really think Georgia comes out and wins this one, and I don't see them faltering maybe the rest of the year into the SEC title game. But doesn't speak to me on the lack of skill Florida has because with all of their players back, with Trask doing a great job passing the ball. I just don't know that Florida can run the ball enough. And I think their defense is going to get off the ball a lot, and Georgia gets a couple of turnovers, and that's exactly what you said they would need to avoid. I just don't know that they can.
Yeah. That's a good point with the running game. We are looking better. I don't know if it's enough, but I do like Kadarius Toney potentially running the Wildcat screens, that being our running game, ways to work around it. And we don't have to run. Like, we've seen that we can not be great at running and still win. But, man, it's better if we do. One thing that does concern me, though, I saw with South Carolina, their draw plays, and they ran all over us for a majority of that game, and they were winning. LSU the same, and they have probably a better running back than Swift. I do like how Zuniga and Grenard are back.
Okay.
But while they were out, we had guys practice and get reps, and game reps, so that helps too. Barring an injury from one of our linemen, I think we stop them just enough. But, I don't think you're crazy if you say Georgia's going to win, because beginning of the year I said Georgia's going to win, and majority of the season I thought Georgia's going to win.
Yeah.
But I think right now I trust Mullen and give him a week, give him a healthy team to scheme up something and pull out a victory.
And this is Florida's best chance in a while to get a victory here.
Yeah.
And score prediction. Give me Georgia 27-22. Throw in his safety in there or something. I don't know.
Okay. Something weird. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It would be a fun one, though.
Top 10 matchups always are. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a 3:30 game. So is Florida State Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Miami. That's just a statement. Now I'm moving on.
Yeah.
That was kind of short, though. I don't think it really emphasizes the point. I really don't like Miami.
I don't like Miami either. But, like I said earlier, there's one time a year I do like Miami. And that is this week. I'm sorry, my friend, but I don't like it. I feel dirty. Don't get me wrong. I feel dirty.
I'm very sorry.
I feel dirty.
I was honestly just lamenting just where this rivalry's gone. Ever since the 90s, 80s, and early 2000s, this has been kind of a yuck game.
Yeah.
These programs are not where they used to be. That's obvious. They're both 4-4, and you're like, oh man, the loser may not make a bowl game. That is really sad to think about, considering that these teams split national titles for nearly a decade, or the chance at one. But here we are. Florida State, we mentioned kind of their positives. The offense can score very quickly. I think against Syracuse, all of our scoring drives were under 3 minutes. So that can really put the other team behind the 8 ball. The problem is I just don't know you're going to have that thunderous success against Miami. Their linebackers play really well. Our offensive line will be definitely exposed, and we are just flat out not going to score as many points as we're used to. It's kind of going to go back to the Wake Forest Clemsons, and so I think we're going to probably struggle to even get 30. I don't even know that we quite get there. And our defense has definitely turned a corner. We've had some game. We held Wake Forest to 22, and this is a team that easily could have scored 50 on you. Didn't hold Clemson to anything. Not worried about that. You hold Louisville, and that Louisville win is looking better and better every week. Louisville's really going on a tear. They've beaten Wake Forest and Virginia now. And Satterfield may win ACC Coach of the Year. He's just really turned Louisville around.
Right.
Which I think is funny because Miami has to play Louisville after us. So, I really do think that Miami can give Florida State a lot of trouble here. The explosive plays are what worries me on offense. We know that they can't sustain drives. We know that they give up a ton of sacks. And, we have really good defensive interior linemen, like Wilson, Cooper, and Durden, but they're run stoppers. And Miami, that's what I mean by they run a lot of passes to the outside, a lot of screens, a lot of quick wide receiver outs. And so that's going to negate some of that pressure. That's where you have to get your outside guys like Robinson really getting some pass rush, creating some kind of havoc in the backfield. So one of our strengths is not going to be seen a lot in this game, and Miami can just go around that. So that's what kind of concerns me. Having said all of that, this will be a close game, one possession. I'm still going to take Florida State at home. I think that if this were neutral or on the road, it's not even close. Miami wins. But because we have home field advantage, I think we do get it done. Give me 28-23.
All right, yeah. It's kind of similar to what I'm thinking. If you're Florida State, you have to worry about when you get into the red zone, you have to score because Miami's red zone defense is really, really good. And I think Miami's strength, obviously, is the defense, and Florida State's strength is Cam Akers. And I think I want to see that matchup. I'm really looking to see how Miami approaches him. Because like I said earlier, like I was alluding to this, Syracuse, they can't do much about Cam Akers, but I think Miami can.
Yes.
I think if they have the talent and the coaching to eliminate or at least slow down a guy as explosive as Akers, but assuming Hornibrook is the guy going forward, will he be able to, and that O-line be able to compensate for that? Matthews is a guy I would really look to see. I think that they're going to key on Terry, so maybe him or McKitty, the tight end, right?
Yep, McKitty.
Yeah. I think guys like that really need to get involved on offense more. Miami's quarterback situation is it's sad.
Yeah.
And their O-line situation is sad. And this is a game I'm going back and forth too. But I think you said it, the fact that it's in Tallahassee is going to be a key factor. If it's neutral site or in Miami, I would lean Miami, but I think that's going to be the thing that's going to push them over. I'm
glad to hear you agree with that because I wasn't so sure that I was, am I too homer on this? I didn't want to sound like I was just like, oh, hey, if we weren't at home. But I'm glad to hear you agree. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be an exciting game, I think, but it's going to be ugly. I have FSU 26-20, so similar to what you had. I do want now. This is a side thing. Over under 2.5, 2.5. Oh. Missed extra points or field goals.
Ooh.
In this game combined,
God.
2.5 blocks count.
I think you have to. I think you have to first of all move that line up. I think you're gonna make it 3 or 3.5.
3.5. Okay, I want to do. I like the half.
You
so
like okay.
So
definitely. So do we get 2 or 3? Well, Florida State at 1 extra point blocked last week. Is Miami still rolling out backside or did they switch kickers?
Oh no, it's a rotating.
Okay.
Door and they're both missing. Yeah.
Also, given the history of this rivalry, you have to go over.
Gotta go over.
Yeah.
Over 2.5 or 3.5?
I want to say 3 total, so I'm gonna go over 2.5. If it's 3.5, I go under.
I'm gonna stick with 2.5 because normally you don't see many, and B, I said it out loud, so probably I jinxed it all. But so we'll stick with 2.5. So if you're listening out there, hit us up. What do you think? Over under 2.5 missed field goals and or extra points. Blocks do count.
That's a really good line, Chris. I like that. Man, I hope that it just doesn't come down to that. I hope that Florida State, I'm wrong, and they get out to a big lead and they don't have to worry about that kind of mess. But history tells me that is not the case.
I say there's going to be 2. I say there's 2. I don't know if it's going to be over to 3, but there's going to be 2 of them.
I think the one thing you don't want to see in a game like this is overtime with terrible kickers. That's just not fun for anybody.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we forgot to mention it. A couple weeks ago, I saw that UNC Virginia Tech went to overtime, and it went to like 5, and they had that new rule where you just go for 2.
Of course, it had to be the ACC that did this, but
yeah.
Yes. And yeah, after that you have to go for 2. So if it got to that point with this game, that would be decent.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that if they go to overtime, do that right away. First overtime and force that.
At least for this week.
Just for this game. Yeah, just this game.
Special tradition starting. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so both have Florida State winning. How about that? That would be nice because if Florida State wins this game, then you have a chance to win BC and then Alabama State, and you're like, wow, we won 4 games in a row this year, and that would give some hope. And that's what this victory could open up as a possibility.
Yeah, I'm not really high on Florida State, just with Miami, especially on offense, not knowing. And they have potential. They have the players that could go off big plays, like you were saying. With the wins that they both had, even though Miami, you could say, had a tougher opponent and was on the road, I mean, Florida State just looked a little more competent than Miami did, so that's got to go with them.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. I mean, there's a lot of things there. My worry is that Miami has that flukish offensive game like Virginia Tech, and it just happens to be against us, and that would just be like the worst of luck, honestly, because that's not who they are as a team offensively.
Right.
But I don't want them to find it this Saturday.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right. So, I kind of 2 birds with 1 stone there. I got 2 teams knocked off with that prediction. I'll just real quick talk about UCF. They have their space game. They play Houston at 12 noon.
This is a space game. I knew it was. I love the uniform, by the way. I didn't know when it was, but okay, this is a space game.
They look pretty slick, too.
Versus Houston. Very smart. Okay, I get it now.
All right.
I get it
Houston
now.
no problem. Now, last year it was Temple, but it was also a night game, so you had some justification there.
Okay.
So, I don't see any way that Houston struggles too much. Excuse me. I don't see too many ways UCF struggles with Houston too much.
We did have a problem with Houston. Okay.
The Cougars have actually done a better job without Derek King than I thought. After he decided to redshirt for the year, they did have a decent performance against North Texas. They played Cincinnati decent, and then they beat UConn, which is you would think. Lost SMU, but only by 3 on a Thursday night game. But right now, it's just the wrong time to play UCF. They're clicking on all cylinders. They figured out their rushing attack. Most teams, if they struggled for a month and then have one good game, I wouldn't think, like, quote-unquote, they're back. But UCF has shown they can do this in the past before that skid, so I'm not worried. Plus, you couple that with the rushing attack, great special teams. I really don't think UCF struggles too much here, and they win pretty handily. Maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns.
So Houston, let's see. They have gone on this pattern where they lost, win. Their last game was a loss, so this game is going to be another loss.
Okay.
UCF is just too much, and they're clicking, and it might be close for a quarter, or maybe a half even, but UCF has just too many, what do they say, horses in the stable.
Yep.
For Houston, so I expect them to win the Space Bowl, if you will.
Oh, there you go. I like
it. Can we start that Space Bowl?
Yeah, Space Bowl. And especially UCF figured out something on defense where they actually figured out how to stop the run. You couple that, they only held Temple to 45 yards rushing last Saturday, and so if they can keep that up, then Houston just doesn't have a chance at all. And their pass defense has always been mediocre, and they continue to get a little bit better week by week. So it's kind of a shame. I was kind of looking forward to seeing Derek King and 2 high-powered offenses going at it this week. This game looks completely different now.
Mm-hmm. But, for sure. Earlier in the season, you thought this was going to be a really great matchup, but now kind of lost its spark.
I had actually kind of circled it as one of the maybe potential losses for the Knights, but not anymore. Should win comfortably. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to talk about the Panthers. They play ODU.
Yeah. So, man, if you're really feeling bad about yourself about a loss that you gave up 50 points to and really need a bounce back week, Old Dominion is a team for you. They just got thumped by FAU and only won one game so far. And the Panthers should be fine. I mean, it may be close just because who knows? I just don't know this team anymore. But ODU is just not good at football right now. So Panthers.
Yes, Morgan back on track. He starts to feed his receivers. They get the running game reestablished. They've gotten their one bad game out of their system, really bad. It was like 2 bad games worth of performance against, one. So, should be fine. ODU has a struggling, rebuilding year ahead of them. Panthers roll.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
And then, so USF was off, so FAU travels to Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
And this might be a coin flip game. I think the line is 1.5 Western Kentucky.
Sounds right.
And they come off a loss to Marshall, a close one, but they were winning several in a row prior to that, including versus Army. So they both lost to Marshall. I don't know which way to go with this, honestly. FAU looked pretty impressive last week against Old Dominion. And overall, recently they've been playing better. I don't know which way to go with this one. You know what? Give me the Lane Train on the road.
Okay.
And I'm not confident on this one, but Lane Train wins it out.
Yeah, this is a pretty evenly matched game, and this will kind of show do the Owls have enough to win their division and get in the title game. They've got FIU ahead of them. There's a lot of pretty decent teams that they have to get past first. Actually, for 2 reasons, I'm actually going to take Western Kentucky.
Okay.
Willie Taggart's alma mater.
Okay.
Number 1. That's my emotional pick. But number 2, so far, Western Kentucky's allowed the least amount of points in conference play this year. So their defense seems to be up for the challenge, and they're the exact same record overall. They're 5-3. So yeah, I'm going to take Western Kentucky in this one.
Yeah, you might be not super confident, so you might be right, but let's make it interesting, make it fun.
Yeah, it should be. And this will be a tight game. I think rest of the way, probably all through November. Yeah, Conference USA will be tight. I don't know that FIU can lose another game in conference and have any kind of shot. FAU might be able to slip up once, but it's getting down to the nitty gritty. You have 4 games left to prove you're deserving of the title game. So yeah. I think this is where Western Kentucky makes that statement.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. Are they the ones that have the? They don't have the red field. That's Washington, like Eastern Washington or something like that, right?
Yeah, Eastern Washington has the red field. Western Kentucky, it looks very similar, the logo.
Okay, I get them mixed up.
The Hilltoppers, but
yeah,
I don't know what their field looks like. I'm assuming just the logo in the middle.
Yeah.
Red swoosh.
Yeah, okay. I get those mixed up. I know one of them has that red turf, but yeah, it's the one out west. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, it's gonna be a fun week 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Chris, can I ask you a question?
You just did.
Oh, okay.
Another one?
Yeah, if I may.
Yeah.
Do you like free money?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah. Well, right now, this entire season, if fans submit to us in audio form their favorite in-game football memory for their favorite team, they get entered for a chance for free money.
Oh, wow.
We are giving away a $25 Amazon gift card to anyone who enters, and we're going to draw it probably in January of next year. So that's pretty cool, right?
Yes. Sign me up. Wait, I'm pretty sure I'm not eligible.
Yeah, you're not. But for everyone else that that listens and is a fan of community of the show, can you remind them where they can do that?
Absolutely. Go to FloridaFocusPodcast.com. That is the central hub, the main place, the Grand Central Station, if you will, to find us, to communicate to us. You can find us in many outlets, but that is the way to go and the place to go.
Yes, and if you feel so inclined to leave us a review in your podcast player of choice, that would be very welcome. We appreciate that feedback. Mm-hmm. And thank you always for the listen. Was there anything else you want to add, Chris, before we sign off?
No, just excited for this weekend. Hopefully I get to know the teams better now because I was so confused after last weekend. And getting some traction on Instagram. We have the Friday Fun Picks, so please feel free to let us know who you got around the Sunshine State, and we are so thankful for your support for the podcast.
I agree. Check Instagram on Friday. This is Brandon saying, "Go Noles, Miami Stings."
Go Gators.